What is going on, everyone? Welcome to the semifinals of the PTL, this time against mid Pokemaster, coach of the somethings. I honestly don't remember right now. But yeah, we are in semifinals of the PTL. We came as the top seed out of 40 teams, and we're here in this moment against mid Pokemaster. And you can see the matchup right in front of you. I'm not going to do as in depth as possible right now, especially given the game and especially given where I'm at, which is in the absolute middle of finals week. I figured I'd just crank this video out at 1 a.m. while I can. But I'll sort of go over what the team is. We have a Hippowdon with Sandstream and Earthquake and Yawn and Toxic, so no Stealth Rocks on this Hippowdon. We just want it to be there to wall things like Boltund, which he didn't bring, more particularly wall things like Bisharp, and then spam Yawn to prevent things from setting up. We have a lead Raichu, mid's led Cloyster a lot of the time and just sort of gone for Shell Smash right away, so this is meant to check back against it as T-Bolt and Extreme Speed in case of a Focus Sash. Then we have a Shell Smashing Barbaracle, as well as has Substitute and a pretty good amount of bulk on it. It will either be a late game sweeper or a check to a fully set up Cloyster. Then we have Court Change Cinderace. I haven't brought it that much, but given that he has Webs and Toxic Spikes, I think it's a good option. Then we have a Life Orb, Clanging Scales, and then Iron Head and Drain Punch Komodo with Stealth Rocks. And then we have a Swords Dance Mimikyu with, I believe, just Ghost Stab and Fighting coverage. So, mid basically brought stuff I expected him to bring. Nothing too out of ordinary. I'm just going to show you all what happens, and we are going to unpack it. I led Raichu. Unfortunately, this was the worst possible situation. If he led anything else, I probably felt pretty good. Toxic Mew would have been great, and then obviously any of these top three, but thankfully he just goes for a Baton Pass, and that's perfectly good for me. He reveals the neutralizing gas on Weezing, which I honestly totally forgot that it didn't only have Levitate, so sort of caught me off guard here, but it was totally fine. He goes for the Toxic Spikes, which doesn't bother me a shit ton, and here he goes into Sylveon, and here's where my nerves of the semifinals got to me a little bit. It's not an end of the world situation, but I feel like in a lot of situations I would have gone for Iron Head there. I was too afraid of making a wrong play and went for the obvious play instead of the big read, which I know I've gotten to this position by making those big reads. So didn't end up doing that. He goes for the Moon Blast against the Cinderace. As he goes into Araquanid, I'm able to Pyro Ball here. Possibly could have court changed, but I was afraid of him of me court changing, and then he would go for Webs here, and then I'd be forced to choose whether or not to have Webs or Toxic Spike on the end of the field. As I do just go into Komodo, and he goes for that. I go for a Clangorous scale again. I was kind of now shocked in hindsight, shocked that I had done that, because I think either Rocks or Iron Head would have easily been the play. There's no way he's staying in with Araquanid. When it can't really do anything to a Komodo. It has the threat of Clangor Soul, all of these things. So he obviously just goes into Sylveon here. I make the wrong play with Clanging Scales. And then I go into Cinderace. He Baton Passes. I am forced to U-turn here because I don't want to lose my Cinderace, and then go into Barbaracle. Means Barbaracle can't be a Shell Slash sweeper, but it will eliminate this Cloyster if it stays in. He actually goes for a Shell Smash, so we will kill this Cloyster based on the calc as long as we get late on a Stone Edge. But we miss the Stone Edge, and that's literally the game. The game is over, and we just lose to mid Pokemaster. A totally underwhelming, infuriating, painful way to go out of the PTL. But sometimes that spawns, sometimes that's the way it is, and you just got to accept it. I knew in prep that if Cloyster got to +2 safely, that it just won, and for certain matchups, like Barbaracle, it necessitated landing a Stone Edge. For other things, it necessitated having Rocks up, and I just wasn't able to perform that. I'm not going to say I played the greatest game. I think I did sort of lose it on my own, though. I'm not sure mid made any plays that were like, game winning for him as much as I made plays that were like game losing for me, particularly going for those moves against the Sylveon, not going for Rocks, not going for Iron Head, basically just lost me the game and gave him instant momentum in a cloister, and I just lost. I didn't play the team I built correctly, and that's that. So the video is going to be a lot longer than this because this is very underwhelming and an annoying way to lose. I will say that mid went on to, and spoilers, if you don't want to hear about how finals went, stop this video or skip ahead a little bit. I'm going to give you a 3, 2, 1 warning. Okay, spoilers, done. Mid did end up losing in finals to Galadite74, an extremely close friend of mine and someone who I think completely deserved to win the championship. It's a shame we couldn't meet in finals, but he did end up losing to Galadite74. So Galadite74 is the champion of the PTL. I'm so thankful I can wrap up PTL now on my channel. Perfect. So that's it. So congratulations. Season's over. It's unfortunate I couldn't win. So the video is going to be longer because I'm going to sort of talk about what I thought of the PTL and Gen 8 leagues in general. So stay tuned for that if you're interested. All right, so we are back here. Apologies for the grainy webcam, things like that. But I did want to use the portions of this video to talk about my experience in the PTL and talk about Gen 8 leagues, how much I enjoyed it. Now, I decided to make it part of the same video, not because I lost, but just because the game was so short and so underwhelming that I sort of just figured it would be easiest for me to combine them into 2 videos. So we're going to talk about what I thought about the PTL and Gen 8. So I'm going to start off with positives, just get them out of the way really quickly. Is the PTL was super hyper competitive. There were a ton of amazing players, and honestly, I don't think I've been a part of a league, barring Owl, anytime recently that had the caliber of player that the PTL had. And I think that is a testament to Jack, aka Gravy, who is the commissioner, and the amount of energy and the amount of strength that his league has managed to gather in 4 seasons of 40 people. That's a huge, massive accomplishment, and very, very amazing on Jack's part that he's been able to ring that together and have a successful season every time. Second positive is that it showed me some Gen 8 mons, particularly Cinderace, I think is the only Gen 8 mon on my team, that I really enjoy using. Other mons that I hadn't tried before include Hippowdon, Mimikyu, Gothitelle. These are all mons that I tried for the first time in this league, and I discovered I liked using them. So very cool information to have for future leagues, future upcoming leagues, to know that there's more mons than I expected. Things like Gothitelle that I thought were really niche, I thought actually have a really good place on builds that I like to create. So very, very cool information. Things like Raichu I learned that I didn't really like. I didn't bring it that much. Barbaracle I wasn't a huge fan of, although I sort of grew on me in the little tail end, although missing that Stone Edge isn't doing it any favors. That being said, Braviary is another one that I don't think I was a huge fan of, so it definitely gave me a good perception of how I think my playstyle is going to start to evolve come Gen 8, which is absolutely cool. So those are my 2 things I'm thankful for in the PTL. Really hyper-competitive battles, learning things about Pokemon. Cool. Gen 8 leagues, very interesting. This obviously was not a Dynamax league. It was a pretty straightforward league. The one criticism that I have about the structure of the PTL is that, and I'm just going to preface this by saying, like, I'm not making this to, like, shit on the PTL. I think the PTL is probably one of the best leagues in terms of organization and in terms of quality of skill and player and all of these things and dedication and all this stuff that I've come across recently. So I just sort of want to rant and offer my thoughts because it's my channel and whatever. So hey, but the one criticism I had of the PTL is that they did pre-DLC and then they did post-DLC, or not DLC, I apologize, pre-home and then post-home, and I thought that was kind of annoying. I think it was a good move and a wrong move at the same time. So the reason it was a good move is because pre-DLC is really pre-home, sorry, I'm going to make that mistake a lot, is really confusing and is really difficult to build with. There was a lot of situations where I had made a team and then I had someone double check it and they said, oh, that move's not valid for whatever reason. You can't use knockoff on this one mon, or you can't use toxic on this one mon, or you can't use. It wasn't just moves that were cut from the game. It was that there were some mons that sort of just like had no reason, like Durant not getting Hone Claws for some reason, or Braviary not getting Bruce. There didn't seem to be any logic behind it, but that's just how it worked. So after week 7, when they fixed that and said, okay, we're shifting to post home, it was great. Truthfully, it was fantastic that they were doing that, but it also made a lot more teams kind of broken. So I'm just going to use Mid's team as an example because it's the one right on my mind because it's one I just prepped for, is things like Mew didn't have access to Roost, things like Cloyster didn't have access to Rapid Spin, things like that. So I think some teams became more broken than other things. So I guess my suggestion or thing that I would hope that the PTL moves forward on, and I know this is just sort of an empty suggestion given that I haven't said this yet, but I'm not going to come back and return to the PTL, which I'll get into a little bit later, could do better on is just having more thought out rules that are consistent over time. Make the rules, justify them, stick to them. And as long as you could do that, you have a perfect league. As long as you could justify the decisions you make, in my opinion, that's that. So if people don't like the fact that other people want to know why you have made certain decisions or question certain rules and just want an answer on why things are the way they are, which are some conflicts I got into this season with people, then they're honestly like, my perception is, if you can't justify what you've done, it probably shouldn't be there, or there's some sort of management or organizational problem. Not to say that the PTL had an organizational problem. I think that for the most part they did that. That's just my one single grievance that I had with the way that this season turned out. So, and I think that's going to be something symptomatic of a lot of Gen 8 leagues. I don't think that's something that's going to be, so this is sort of broad advice to anyone who's doing a Gen 8 league, is you have to establish everything at the start. There's a lot of things like hidden power being gone, a lot of things like certain mons being allowed, certain mons not being allowed, pre-DLC, post-DLC, that is going to create a lot of confusion, a lot of people bringing things that they shouldn't be bringing, and being as transparent and clear as possible is the most important. So, cool. Why am I not returning to the PTL? Mostly just because I didn't really enjoy, I loved the battles, I didn't really enjoy the community. That's not to say people in the community are bad people, that's just to say that I didn't jive with them, and it sort of taught me a lesson that I want to reflect on in my own videos, which is stay with who you're comfortable with. I sort of fell into the PTL saying to myself, you know what? I've been a part of these small scale leagues in my sort of insular community for a while. PIBA, OWL, ABC, with people like Dr. Slacking, people like Nico, and these are people who also joined the PTL. People like Tangle of Boots, people like Strongful, who are sort of together. And I said, okay, let me branch out to a league of people. And I said this in my draft analysis video, of people who I literally don't know at all. And I think that was a mistake. I personally think that I'm enjoying leagues more when I'm with people who I trust and people who trust me, people who we have a genuine, kind relationship with. There were people in this league who didn't like me, and truthfully, there's people in this league who I didn't like. So it's just a question of not being reluctant to branch out, but be gradual. I think I made a huge step from going from a small insular community to a massive group of like 40 people in a league that's just so overwhelming. And this has taught me a lesson to, stay with who you're comfortable with. It's not a question of proving yourself, which is, I think, why I joined the PTL, is because I want to like prove myself as a top tier battler, which I comfortably feel like I somewhat did, given that I was top seed of 40 people. But at the same time, it didn't feel really worth it, because I don't know if I created, outside of the Go Crusaders, who we'll get to a little bit later, relationships that I think I'll cherish for a while, if that makes sense. So I have the utmost respect for Mid Pokemaster and other people who I very clearly did not get along with. And they're great content creators, they're great battlers. I will never deny any of that. But sometimes people don't mix. For me, I need to stay within my smaller group of people. So I probably won't be joining any leagues with big names really anytime soon. And that's just for me to reflect on. That's cool. What else? The Go Crusaders. So that was the other weird thing about this league, is it was a team-based league, and I actually really enjoyed the fact it was a team-based league a lot, because we formed connections with people who I would not have met otherwise. So Cap, Cyan, Dunga, I think were the three main people, if I'm not mistaken. I might be forgetting one more person, who I newly met in the PTL and can comfortably say I'm very big fans of all of them, and they're great people. Two of them joined BFO Surge, which is sort of the tournament that a lot of the smaller community that I was more referencing takes part in. So they're totally cool. What else? Yeah, so I also want to thank the PTL for creating those long-lasting relationships, which was absolutely cool. And then solidifying other prior existing relationships I had with people like Slick Panther, Galadite, and so on. So I thought it was a cool idea. It's one of those things similar to my criticism with like the DLC and all those rules and things like that, where it was like the rules were a little bit confusing, but I can totally understand it given how it was a different format and how the Go Crusaders sort of like did so well that it like broke the way the rules worked. So I also want to thank Jack, because it got a little bit heated when I was criticizing those rules, and then some people got upset that I was doing so, and Jack and I were able to say, okay, let's put all this stuff aside and work together to sort of come to a way in which we can mutually agree on something that is fair and just, and we created a playoff system that I think was pretty good for everyone. So that was cool. What else? I think that's really it. I'm probably forgetting a lot of things. I know I'm like having a little bit of undertone of like discomfort with certain people in the PTL. I don't want to be like hiding those sort of things. There were a lot of people who didn't like me in the PTL, and I'm sorry. I'm someone who speaks my mind. I'm someone who is pretty transparent with people. I'm someone who's pretty frank and pretty blunt with how I feel, and it rubs people the wrong way. I don't apologize for it, because I don't think I did anything wrong other than saying, this is my perception. But, obviously I think there's a ton of people in the PTL, including the people who did not get along with me, who I think are fantastic draft league battlers, and I wish them the best. So that's it. That's the PTL. Definitely a league that was stressful and difficult to upload. Definitely a league that was a really nice success, in my opinion, in terms of getting an introduction to Generation 8. And then also a good form of self-discovery, as has been unpacked here. And then also, unfortunate way to end, but very fun. I didn't talk much about the hacks that happened at the end of the mid Pokemaster battle. I think if I landed the Stone Edge, 50-50 shot between both of us to win. I mean, the game was so early on, it could have been anything. That being said, I made some bad plays in the beginning. I should have just Thunderbolted the Weezing instead of going into Komodo. I should have Iron-Headed both times the Sylveon came in. One of those situations where I just get super nervous and assume that mid or my playoff opponent is going to make the safe play, and I don't punish it, and then he makes the safe play, and then it works out. So that's not just happened in this game. It's happened in other situations, and it's Mon, so you live and you learn from it. So I just want to say thank you to everyone in the PTL for the experience. Thank you to Jack. Thank you to any admins, including Zane, who's been super helpful throughout this. Everyone on the Go Crusaders who has been super supportive and super kind. And then the huge shout out to Dr. Slacking, to Nico for inviting me. And then, yeah, a huge shout out to Galadite as well. So that's it. That's the PTL. I will see you all later. No uploaded leagues on the agenda right now. I'll probably, maybe once finals are over, which they aren't yet. I'm recording this currently with 3 essays left to go and 4 days left to do them. Not even 4 days. Sunday, Monday, 3.5 days, which is stressful. But I can't sleep, so knock these out, right? Anyway, yeah, I'm done. I'm not gonna rant on for a little bit longer, but I don't know if there's gonna be any leagues. We'll see. Stay tuned, I guess. I don't know. Might upload some how to draft league videos or Showdown Lives or something, but no uploading leagues currently on my mind, but we'll see. Okay,